Chapter 5. The Workshop Confrontation. Detective Miller stood motionless in the absolute darkness, listening to the sound of heavy metal dragging across the concrete. He slowly reached for the inside of his trench coat, where he kept a small flashlight and a mouse-sized handgun. Suddenly, two glowing red dots ignited in the deep darkness, the eyes of a creature staring at him with cold hatred. A cold, resentful voice spoke from the shadows. "I didn't expect you to find me so soon, Detective, but as always, you love to spoil a good surprise." Miller switched on his flashlight, aiming its beam towards the voice. What he saw made his blood run cold. A giant snake slithered out from the shadows. The lower half of its body was a gleaming, deadly mechanical construct, a segmented metal tail that hissed with steam at every movement, ending in a heavy, polished piston head. Beside the snake stood Ratchet, the mouse mechanic, looking at his masterpiece with a proud smirk. "Isn't she beautiful, Miller?" he said. "A perfect fusion of nature and machine. Something your small minds could never comprehend." The snake continued in a chilling tone. "You took a lot from me, Detective. In that clock tower, you stole my future. Now it's my turn to take everything from your precious city and the great cheese." "That was just the beginning. So this is revenge," Miller stated coolly. "This is more than revenge," the snake hissed. "This is an upgrade." In that instant, the mechanical tail whipped through the air with incredible speed. Miller barely dodged the blow, but the piston head struck a metal pillar next to him with such devastating force that it crumpled the pillar and sent a shower of hot metal rivets and sharp shrapnel flying. Miller managed to dive away from most of it, but a piece of hot, sharp metal sliced open his arm, and a muffled cry of pain escaped his lips. The detective, blood now streaming from his arm, knew he stood no chance in a direct fight. He had to use the environment. His eyes darted around the workshop, landing on an old overhead crane holding a heavy engine block with rusty chains. The controls, a large lever box, were on the other side of Ratchet's workbench. With a sudden move, Miller grabbed a metal rod from the floor and threw it with all his might at an old, sparking junction box on the wall. The box exploded on impact, filling the workshop with a blinding shower of sparks and the deafening sound of a short circuit. The snake and Ratchet were momentarily stunned and disoriented. It was all the time Miller needed. He dove for the control box, vaulted over the workbench and pulled the main lever of the crane down with all his strength. With a deafening screech of metal, the rusty chains snapped, and the giant engine block plummeted towards the ground. The snake and Ratchet leaped back in terror to avoid being crushed. The warehouse filled with dust and chaos. Miller used the opportunity, clutching his wounded arm, and ran for the exit, disappearing into the night. He ran through the deserted streets of the industrial district, the sound of his footsteps echoing in the silence. His head was spinning, and the trail of blood dripping from his arm made him easy to follow. Only one thought was in his mind. "I have to get to the mayor. I have to warn Mortimer." A few alleys away, he could go no further. His legs grew weak, his vision blurred, and the mayor's name faded in his ears. He leaned against the wall of a dead-end alley and slowly slid to the cold, wet ground. The last thing he saw was the steam of his own breath in the cold night air. And then, everything went black.